You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rokfin, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Definitely is all connected. It leads to the next thing I want to get to, and this is something that can actually be a physical phenomenon if you look at it that way, and that's different types of parasites or attachments, and these can be very different things. You can have spiritual attachments, energetic attachments, thought forms, things from your past that have caused so much trauma that it leaves this energetic mark that has some sort of intelligence to it. And then you go to parasites, which could also mean spiritual or etheric parasites, but we have the physical parasites. You ever look at these things under a microscope, what they look like?
Aliens.
They look like little demons.
Like fucking demons, aliens, terrifying, yeah.
Yes, they are terrifying. So this could even be, I believe, in the same category because you have some of the same effects from these physical parasites that you do as also from the spiritual side. And I've had experiences going back to mushrooms and psychedelics where I've become aware if I have a thought form or if I have some sort of energetic attachment that is feeding me negative thoughts or negative information. My guides will reveal it to me and say, hey, you got to get rid of this. Let's do a meditation and let's get rid of this thing. So I've become aware of how to understand if I am being afflicted by something like this. But this could also be an, like you said, extraterrestrial or demonic type of occurrence that affects people, and they can probably go there almost their entire lives and not even be aware unless they're into some of this spiritual woo-woo stuff and start exploring those realms, because it can be so subtle at times. It can be depression, it can be sadness, it can be anger, but deep down you could have this type of attachment that you have from anything from parasitic to thought forms that will affect you on a daily basis. Until you become aware of it and relieve yourself of it, it won't go away. So that's another type of these experiences that is really fascinating and really connects as well.
Dude, you nailed it with the microscopic thing. I saw a video, man, of somebody breaking that down. They took like Enoch's account of the wheel within a wheel and something else, and then they looked at something under the microscope, and then they showed that it was actually this bacteria thing. And then they showed another, the angel, right, with all the eyes and the wings and everything like that, how real angels look, not like this fucking terrifying thing. And then they showed one with all these eyes and wing-like appendages that came out from it. So everything that you're talking about is true. Now, the question is, and I asked Preston Dennett about this, and I was so excited to, because I think, again, kind of skip over the idea that like you said, the astral body thing, but what if it is physical in a way? Okay, so what if the confusion is that we're changing size when we interface with it? Okay, so a couple of stories. Preston Dennett talked about a guy who was on a big battle cruiser. It was about 600 feet long. A huge UFO pulled up next to him, zapped him on board. He goes on board this damn thing, military guy. Looks around in the room and he's like, where are you guys from? And all of a sudden the room grew 10 or like 30 feet in any direction, like doubled in size, something like that. So now it's this massive gymnasium sized room. Other tales account of, what is that? The Andreessen, was it the Andreessen affair where the dude walked on the ship? He's filming military craft. There's one about 30 feet long. He steps on board and then inside the room was like a gymnasium. It was much larger on the inside. So it was like Narnia. Yeah. These kind of stories make me think, and again, back to what you're talking about the microscopic things, then people saying, or what angels look like and shit like that. Have you ever had a Viewmaster? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, you remember, and it has a tiny little picture on it, but when you look at it, it looks fucking huge, right? Yeah. What if this, again, is what's going on? And what happens is that when people are taking onboard UFOs or anything like that, it's like the movie Inner Space with Martin Short, right? Where they get shrunk and then taken inside their own damn body. And maybe that's where all of the universe is. And maybe it does look from that perspective at a certain scale like the damn universe, at atoms and galaxies and all that kind of shit. And then maybe if you zoom down small enough, again, there's another you on a planet called Earth that's down in there that they shrink you to or inflate you to. And maybe this is how time works. It's all inward spirals rather than outward. So then it's scalable, but it's fractal at that point, right? We always talk about this fractal nature to this universe. So if you were to step into a UFO, do you instantly, depending on the nature of I don't know how it would work, but it's just an idea. do you scale down automatically? Like, do you get smaller? Another account, I want to say this was the end reason affair, this lady came outside, saw a man standing there. I want to say it was her husband, and a tiny little UFO, like a small ass one, like it was very small. Two occupants came out, shrunk her husband down, and took him aboard the UFO and fucking flew off, dude.
What?
So then you hear about the tale in Japan in the 70s, the Kira UFO event. And that was a tiny little hat-sized UFO that these kids found, put in their backpack, and walked around with and shit. So, again, the question is scale. I think we kind of take that for granted, that they're just our size, or that when we go with them, we're their size. Maybe what occurs is, yes, you are jacked, or astrally, or whatever, but the fact that you're going through a wall or something like that is from a different scale perspective. So as you're being shrank, you go through the molecules rather than at full scale enter them, right? So maybe, again, your perception is just eyeballs at that point. So you would feel like a full physical body went through the wall, but it wouldn't. It would just be your perception, right? If your perception was allowed to retain at all. So again, maybe your memories are wiped. So it's this idea of the transmissibility of your consciousness into many different, not only vehicles and levels of thought, right? This astral, this light body, but maybe they physically take your ass and shrink you. Like, think of the movie Downsizing and all that. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I mean, as above, so below. Maybe it's just small.
I just had a terrifying thought. What if we could experience everything you said on all of the microscopic levels, but also all of the macroscopic levels to the largest degree? But that would mean that to some entity out there, we are like a small, tiny molecule. And these things could be like giant, parasitic, big-eyed, winged, tentacled things that somehow can affect our reality. But it's like the Lovecraftian old ones that can be summoned in certain ways and have certain energetic connections to us. But they look like these giant bug or reptilian or some kind of squid beings, and they're enormous, but we can't perceive them because they're outside of our little bubble reality. That's a kind of terrifying thought.
Yes. Or you think about like the dude who filmed that huge face next to the moon the other day. There were several people that filmed this. Did you see that? Like a gigantic fucking face, like a terrifyingly big. Now it could be CGI. I'm not ruling that out. But what it does offer you is perception into what we're talking about here. It's sort of this scale thing. And really maybe what happens after you die is you just expand and you get literally huge. And maybe this is what the awakening or the expansion or any of this kind of shit is. This revealing of the veil is that we're just super, 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 super small. And then everything that is getting your attention to go out there is to keep you from that fact that it's really literally right under your nose. Like, everybody talks about this, that feels that they have something to say, and people who I feel do have something to say that we talk to say it's closer than you think. It's right under your nose. It's right under your nose. So when you think of it that way, that is the greatest insight, as well as all the gurus forever. What have they been saying? Go within, go within, go within. And then you couple that with the distractive nature of our reality at its core, right? What is its job? It's to keep your attention out there. It's got mysteries, it's got bright lights, it's got colors, it's got dangly keys everywhere, it's got problems, it's got issues, it's got fears. And so its job is to keep you engaged in that reality, when maybe really the exercise is, again, to sort of befriend the monsters within that are terrifying to look at, and maybe that's part of your awakening, is to interact with them, but you got too scared of them, so they put you in this form until you can kind of adapt. I don't know. Well,
that's another thing. I've had plenty of guest experiencers that have these astral experiences, out-of-body experiences. Well, they will encounter some massive, demonic, terrifying entity. At first, they're terrified of this thing, but then they realize that they have to face it, and then they either give it love or show it no fear, and it dissipates into something like a little flower or something different than it first appeared as. So maybe all of these scary monsters and oogity boogities that we are terrified of, reptilians and mantis beings, are all something that we need to experience in our lives and maybe face. Maybe it's part of something in our psyche that is preventing us from growing in some way. I don't know. That's an interesting thought.